to acknowledge the land that we are journeying on today. It's very important in British Columbia and at Royal Roads University to do so. So I invite you maybe to ground your feet on the land and really reflect on where you're journeying from. Royal Road University, we are on the traditional lands of the Lekwak'sum and Kosapsun families, known as the Sunhi and Esquimalt nations. This statement to us means that we at Royal Roads recognize the importance of Indigenous and non-Indigenous people relationship, and we continue to learn and understand the history, present, future scope of Indigenous people. If you know which territory you are on, you can put it in the chat. That will be your introduction. Feel free to let us know where you're from, what you're looking forward to learn today. And here we move to the introduction. So my name is Nancy Prévost-Maurice. I am an education specialist here at Royal Roads University. And today, Mickie Noble is with me as the program head of the program. Mickie, do you want to say hi?
Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us.
I love doing webinar with Mickie. She's so knowledgeable, so feel free to ask questions. And as we go through the presentation, we'll be with you maybe for 30, 45 minutes today with you. And as I mentioned, feel free to ask questions or always email us or visit the website royalroads.ca for more information. So the agenda for today, we'll get to know you. We'll do a brief overview of Royal Roads University. We'll talk about the program specifically, and we will review the application process and the admission requirement. And we answer questions as we go through. Just using your reaction button here, can you let me know if some of you came to Royal Roads before? Maybe you visited the campus in the past, or maybe not. So I was pleased to read today that Victoria has been named the Canada's best small city. So that's pretty cool. That means that this is a very welcoming city. And Royal Roads University is just a few minutes outside Victoria in a city named Colwood. And I would say that the most famous icon building we have on campus will be Hatley Castle. So this program will have a few intakes with people on campus. So when you study on campus, you can visit the castle, you can visit the garden. We have 565 acres of land, of old growth forests, of trails. So you can really wander around with your friends and family and cohort to get to know Victoria land a little bit. And the picture here on the bottom left, you can see the Esquimalt Lagoon. So the university is facing the lagoon, which is a bird sanctuary. And this is a fabulous place to go for a picnic or do your homework or meet with your team. And on the bottom right, I'd like to mention that Royal Roads University has been founded 25 years ago already, and we were created to be an online institution. So we really offer all programs for working professional, and you can sometimes work and study at the same time. Sometimes you can study fully. Mickie will discuss this, but really the idea is that it's a really engaging university and a really engaging way of teaching, which is online. For most courses. And here, one of my favorite slides, why explore Royal Roads University? So you might be questioning yourself, should I go back to school? Or maybe you're in college and you want to transition to year 3 and 4. So at Royal Road, we see life as a qualification. So since we started, we really had the purpose of doing things differently. So we are looking for people with what we call entrepreneurial spirit. Also, prof who know your name. So that's very important at Royal Roads. You will be with a small cohort, small size class, and people will get to know you really quickly. So we don't call you by a number, we really call you by your name. And that creates a really nice connection with your peers and with your instructors as well. And we see learning based on life. So for us, education doesn't just shape your experiences. It's really the experiences that you will bring in the classroom that will shape your education. So because, as I mentioned, we are a university for working professional, that means that you can bring your real challenges into the classroom, and then you can solve them with your peers. That's a very unique way of teaching and learning, I would say. Connection for life. This is true. I'm a student right now at Royal Roads as well. And the connection I'm making are really helping me in my day-to-day life to better know the topic, to be a better version of myself. And those connections you will keep forever. So we talk a lot with grads who are still in touch with their cohort, and they exchange ideas. Sometimes they exchange job offers. So there's a lot there that will be created in the program. And lastly, we were built differently. As I mentioned before, for 25 years, even more now, we have been doing online teaching. So this is really a philosophy that we try to reflect. And we are also, the physical location of Royal Road is on a National Heritage Site. So Hatley Castle and around all the buildings, it's a National Heritage Site. So it's pretty different of what maybe you experience in other institutions. And just to conclude, every student should have access to a life-changing education. This is the motto we like to use, wherever they are in life and wherever you are in the world. And before I pass it to Mickie, I'll just go to the next slide. So Changemaker Campus, I invite you to use Google and just type that in. So Ashoka University, the vision at Royal Road is to develop and inspire leadership at all levels. So that means for individual and for organization. So the mission is to provide relevant, innovative, and transformative learning experience for those wishing to develop applied skills in a dynamic context. And I'm proud to say that Royal Road is one of the few institutions in Canada to get that accreditation, that designation. So I hope I introduced the university and what we do a little bit to you, and then I'll pass it to Mickie for more program-specific information. Thank you.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Mickie Noble, and as Nancy said, I am the program head for the Bachelor of Science of Environmental Science program. I am also the senior lab instructor for the program, and we're going to show you lots of nice slides of our new labs that have in our new building that's only been around for a couple of years that we are quite excited about. So this is our lab. We are really pleased with it, and although this shot doesn't show it to you, we do have floor-to-ceiling windows on one wall of the lab, which gives us lots of natural light. And as Nancy said, you will be with a small cohort, likely in the neighborhood of 20 to 30 students. So she's right, we really do know who you all are, and it's a lot like living in a very small town where everybody knows everything about you, probably to a disconcerting extent. But it does make for really nice opportunity to develop those social connections, both to enhance your learning and to take forward friends that will last a lifetime. All right, so what is our program all about? We are an integrated and interdisciplinary program. So you will learn science, but you will also learn policy things and things like statistics and communications. You will have an opportunity to do a major project, which is a hands-on consulting project. So you'll learn ecotoxicology, you'll learn chemistry, you'll learn some applied microbiology. So lots and lots going on. And contrary to what happens at most other universities, the curriculum is designed to actually integrate with each other. So you will be applying concepts from different courses in other courses and seeing how we make those links so that you can carry that idea forward when you're looking at trying to solve environmental problems. Next slide, please. All right, 2 options. So you can come and see us for 12 months on campus. So full-time studies, face-to-face program, all your labs and field work happening while you're there. But if you are in the position where you have the house, the spouse, and the kids, and packing up for a year and coming to Victoria is just not an option for you for whatever reason, we have our blended offering of the same program. So in the blended program, you'll come for a 3-week residency 3 different times, May of every year that you're in the program. And during that 3 weeks, you will do the lab and the field components. So you'll still get that blend of lab experience, field experience, and classroom experience, but in a more condensed way. During the year-long periods that go in between those residencies, you'll take 1 or 2 courses at a time at distance. Now, these are not the self-paced correspondence courses that your folks might have done at some point, or you might have had experience with from another university. These are meant to be things that you do with your cohort. So there is lots of online discussion, there's online teamwork, there's lots of interaction with your cohort and with your instructors. So 2 different delivery models, both of them will get you where you want to go. You just have to kind of decide what is going to work best for you. The blended version of the program is completed over 2 calendar years, where the on-campus program is 1 calendar year. So the on-campus program is intensive. You're doing 16 months of school in 12, but it's also a very enriching and powerful experience as you go through. All right, so on campus, you actually have a little online piece before you get here where we'll have you do WMIS, we'll have you do an online course called Introduction to Academic Integrity. It doesn't take very long. It's really all about, how do I reference things? How do I know when I'm behaving ethically with respect to my academics and those kinds of things. Then you get here and we'll spend 2 weeks getting you oriented to campus, introductory lectures, helping you find all the places that you need to find so that when we send you running off to go get samples from someplace on campus, you know where it is. Then you'll start your first quarter studies that'll go from October to December. So that'll include courses in math and chemistry and biology and communications. And I think we've got atmospheric and oceanic sciences in there and a couple of other things. Then second quarter is January to March. And at that point, you're doing applied microbiology and environmental chemistry. And you have your sustainability course. And so sort of more of those bits and pieces. Third quarter, we're sort of coming up and it's a little more big picture. So ecotoxicology, industrial processes, law, economics, tools for business decision-making, those kinds of courses. And fourth quarter is, I should know this, law, ecology, because by then everything's outside and it's blooming, so you'll enjoy that. Economics and land use and planning. So a very integrated curriculum. You'll notice that I probably mentioned most of the science courses. That's because I teach most of the science courses on that side of the house. And so my colleagues pick up the other things that are a little more humanities or social sciences based.
Thank you, Mickie. I'll move to the next slide. And I forgot to introduce Carla that is with us with the enrollment team. So maybe Carla will pop a few links if you want to click about the schedule and on-campus blended, a bit more information. And we'll make sure to send those links with the recording as well. Thank you for that. And hear more about the blended.
Okay, blended program. So if you are unable to join us on campus for a year at a time, again, you will have a couple weeks online with, again, WMIS, Introduction to Academic Integrity and similar. Then you'll come for your first residency in May. And we will do some lab and field things and a couple of courses. And then you'll go off for your first distance group of courses from June to April. Now, depending on the year you start, some of those courses will include things like applied microbiology, or environmental chemistry. Our blended groups tend to be small, and so we tend to mix you with the cohort that's either ahead of you or coming behind you. So you have a chance to basically get to know some folks that have experience in the program, and it gives you a wider group of peers to join with and get to know, which is kind of a neat experience. You'll come back for residency 2, and the group that you were joined with for your first distance group will be finishing their program. And so they will be heading off, and you will get to mentor the group that is incoming for residency 2. And again, you'll have some field work, you'll have some lab work to do, and then you'll go home for another year and you'll pick up the other part of your program. And then you'll join us for residency 3, where you'll be finishing off the end of your lab work and the end of your program. Prerequisites. Both courses, as you might imagine, have the same prerequisites because they have essentially the same content. So we are looking for a minimum grade of B. We have a huge number of transfer agreements with various institutions, which we will get to in a minute. But we are looking for 2 post-secondary courses in chemistry, ideally with a lab, 2 in biology, 2 in math or physics. Ideally, one of those should be calculus, but statistics also counts, and 2 courses in writing or communications. That's a pretty general requirement. So there's all kinds of things that fit in that category. So if you're looking at your program and you're going, we didn't have any courses in communications. Yeah, but you probably had something that fills the bill. So don't panic. What do I get out of this besides my degree? Often a question students want to know. You can be certified following this program by EcoCanada. They offer actually the only nationally recognized certification in environmental science across the country. And as graduates of an accredited program, you would qualify for the environmental professional in training designation, as well as time off your work experience needed to get your full environmental professional in training, environmental professional designation. You may be eligible, depending on what your previous program included, to apply for things like registered professional biologist or professional agrologist designations, but those vary from province to province. And so if you're interested in those designations, I recommend checking the websites for the appropriate organizations. Oh, what do our students do? Lots of stuff. The on-campus program includes an 8-month consulting project for a sponsor external to the department. And these projects involve lots of different things depending on the sponsor. So some of our recent projects have involved biodiversity mapping project for the campus, Healing City Soils, which is an organization that's interested in metal contamination in garden soil. A project that involved reestablishing indigenous shellfish on the Cobourg Peninsula, which is out in front of Royal Roads University, that was done in sponsorship with the city of Colwood, and a bear safe waste management plan for the district of Souk, among others. My major project this year that I'm the faculty advisor for is looking at microplastics in wastewater. And so, yeah, the projects are really, really varied and depend on who our sponsor organizations are in any given year. The really nice part about those projects is it gives you some hands-on experience and really something to share with potential employers that says, hey, you know what? Yes, I know how to run a big project. Yes, I know how to look after things like billable hours. Yes, I do have some experience that's relevant to my degree in a way that students for other environmental science programs across the country likely do not. What can you do next? Well, at one point, the university's motto was, you can get there from here. You really kind of can. It depends on what you want to do next. Lots of my students wind up as environmental consultants, although not all of them by any stretch. Environmental managers, environmental coordinators for all kinds of organizations. Some of them become research assistants. Some of them are environmental or economic offices for large and small municipalities. In some cases for large and small companies, including companies, that are things like oil companies, etc. Right? Some of them are policy folks that work for provincial governments or municipal governments. Lots of them go on to graduate school. Some of them go on to law. I've had several graduates of the program that went from this degree into law school to become environmental lawyers. Some of them are school teachers with an environmental focus. I've had 1 or 2 doctors. So it really does depend on what you want to do next. Why do employers like our grads? Our program is built on what we call learning outcomes. And so I've got a list of things that you will be able to do when you graduate from the program. But because of all of the integration of the curriculum and all the general skills, as well as the technical things you're going to learn, employers really like the fact that this brings a really great awareness of the fact that environmental problems are multifaceted and multidisciplinary. You'll have excellent communication and technical skills. You'll know lots about working with teams. You'll be very aware of the fact that just because I put you in a group doesn't make you a team, and the kinds of things that you need to put into place to become a team. So yeah, I get lots of requests for references from employers and graduate schools and all kinds of things for our grads. So they've got nothing but good things to say. So
that's wonderful. And Mickie, I got a question in the chat about talking about teamwork. So what does that look like, teamwork? And is it different from the on-campus option to the blended?
No, it really isn't, interestingly enough. We work with a really awesome set of team coaches that will start working with you right from the start of your program to teach you how to make these teams, make teams happen. How do we get everybody on the same page? How do we agree on how to prioritize and all of those things? And so you also have access to those team coaches for brush up and further coaching as you go through the program. So yeah, very, very similar. Although the orientation to teamwork will have some extra things to say about doing it online for the blended group. Because there are some peculiarities for working in teams online. But yeah, generally a very similar kind of experience. And because you start your blended program meeting everybody, it gives you a real chance to get to know everybody before you move online. And it makes forming those teams and those social linkages much, much easier. And that's really important when you move online, because that can feel rather isolating, as many of you may know from your COVID experience, in a way that it doesn't necessarily have to be.
Yeah, great point. Thank you. And the other question I got was, do you have students from abroad? Are people from Canada only or from other countries?
It varies from year to year. 2 years ago, I had a student that was here from France for the year. I have had several students from Asia in the last couple of years, a couple from Africa in the last couple of years. So yeah, it varies very much from year to year, but it's certainly not a program that is exclusive to Canadian students.
Wonderful. Thank you. And here we go.
Okay, so you want to come to school and then you want to go someplace cool. So yes, there are some opportunities to do study abroad. Having said that, because of the way that the program is structured, where it's a cohort-based program and everybody's taking the same courses in the same order at the same time, your options for study abroad are really more come at the very end of your program. So what I would suggest to students is, particularly for folks in the on-campus program, because very often they were planning to travel anyway after they finish their program, is set up a study abroad opportunity for the September to December semester after you graduate, for instance. There's some really cool partnerships that I approved 2 months ago with partners in Germany, Cuba, and I forget where the other one was, but there's some really neat opportunities for things that you can do. And while it's not something that you can easily do in the middle of your program, it's certainly something that you could do very easily at the end of your program. So it's definitely something to look into if that interests you.
Thank you. Yeah, I think everybody's looking forward to travel again, so that's exciting. Wonderful. And how to apply. So thank you so much, Mickie. Thank you, Carla, for the links. And feel free, both of you, to just jump in as I go through the application process. How to apply. So we got you excited. Now you want to learn more. You want to apply to the program. So you can visit the website, royalroads.ca, and you will see the application form there. It's an easy 10 steps to follow. And it's really 1, 2, 3. And that will tell you how to do. but here is more information on admissions, because as I mentioned before, we do things a bit differently at Railroads. So if you apply, when you apply, first of all, you don't have to check the box about standard or flexible admission. I'll describe them, but this is really the team that will decide. If you go through the program through standard admission, so what we ask from you is the completion of an approved transfer program with a minimum of B, GPA of B, or the completion of prerequisite that Mickie mentioned, plus a completion of an art or science diploma equivalent to 60 credits, including a minimum of 24 second year credits with a GPA of B. And the reason why, and I'm sure Mickie, you can add more, but the reason why is that we really want to set you up for success with the cohort with year 3 and 4. So we ask you to have a bit of experience.
Yeah, the other piece of that is approved transfer programs. We've got agreements with over 80 programs across Canada and a few international ones as well. So, you know, it's worth checking to see if the program that you have finished fits one of those. If it doesn't, don't worry about it, still apply, okay? Because there are lots of routes in that don't necessarily have to go through that, that transfer agreement route.
Yeah. That's a very good point. And those pathways that we call make it quite easy for you to transition from your institution to Railroads. So we'll send that link as well about all the agreements we have with other institutions. And then if you don't qualify for standard admission, this is what is beautiful at Railroad, is that you can still get in. And another question we get a lot is, oh, I've been away from school for many years, can I come back? And of course you can. And maybe you will go through the program through flexible admission. So this is the people, again, that don't meet the standard admission. And we ask you to have a completion of the prerequisite with still a minimum of B in GPA and significant relevant experience. And this is assessed on a case-by-case basis. And I know that Carla might mention it in the chat as well, but at Railroad, we don't ask you to wait until the deadline to apply. You can apply today and we will assess every file on a daily basis. So you will know as soon as we can when you get accepted. And how to apply, as I mentioned, you go online, you pay that application fee of $131.39, and then you will submit your official transcripts. So those transcripts need to come from your institution to Railroad. So that will be mostly by mail or email. And then if you are accepted as, if you started, your application and you are more of a, I would say it, flexible admission, then you might be requested to submit more information, more documents, such as a detailed resume telling us who you are, what are your volunteer experiences, your work experiences at school. You will submit a personal statement, which we call a statement of intent, to let us know who you are, kind of what happened with you in the past, where have you been, where do you want to go? So kind of selling a little bit yourself. Maybe on some of your transcript, you have some grades that were not that good a few years ago. So in the letter of intent, you can explain us why and what you have been doing in life that will make you a good candidate for the program. And 2 letters of reference. And I think those letters, we usually see one academic and one professional, but it's just a suggestion. If you don't have one or the other, you can still submit your application. Mickie, anything to add on this? Yeah.
Yeah. So one thing to add, if you are in the Canadian Armed Forces or you have been in the Canadian Armed Forces, also please submit your training records. Very often there are important things that might be relevant to that are hidden in your training record that wouldn't necessarily show up on your resume or otherwise. And so that gives us, again, another opportunity to see kind of all of who you are, which is important to the program.
Yeah, very good point. We get a lot of people in different programs at Railroad from the Canadian Forces, so that's great. And here the key dates. So we have an on-campus program coming up in September. The application deadline is kind of July, it's right now. So if you're thinking of applying for September, what you can do is start your application, check the box for the on-campus intake for 2023. And then you can email our admission team to let them know that you would like to come to September 2022. So we can't guarantee anything, but I think everybody will do their best to let you in. But maybe you're thinking, oh no, I want to apply next year. So you can already apply for 2023. And if you'd like to do the blended option, which is a great option as well, we have an intake on April 17, 2023, and we have another one in 2024. So those options will show up when you do the application process online. And here, financial aid, we know that going back to school is a huge component. So we have a full team at Railroad committed to help you with internal and external loan. What I often recommend is just take a print screen or a picture maybe of that slide and really make sure to connect with the financial aid team to learn more about what options are available to you. And as we end the presentation, I'll double check in the chat if we have any questions, but you can always connect with the enrollment services. You met Carla today. She's working with an amazing team of people that can answer all your questions. So if you are in Canada, you can use the learn.more@railroads.ca. If you're joining us from abroad, you can use the learn.more.international@railroads.ca. And if you're ready to chat right now, you can use your phone and just scan the WhatsApp code to be connected with one of us. And here, a big thank you. I like that picture with the peacock. We have a lot of peacocks on campus, so maybe you have seen them, or maybe you'll see them later on. But this is kind of the mascot of the of the campus. And I'm just looking here in the chat. Mickie, is there anything you saw? Wonderful. I don't see any more questions, so I think we'll let you go. Thank you so much for joining us. And please feel free to connect through learn.more or learn.more.international. And I will make sure to send you the recording link as soon as we can. Thank you, Mickie. Thank you, Carla.
Thanks, everybody. If you think of a question after you log off, which is what often happens with students, do shoot Carla and the admissions group an email, and they will make sure that the right person gets the email, and you will get actually a response from a real person, which is kind of a nice feature.
Wonderful. Thank you so much.
Thanks, everybody.